Okay, so first thing is to go back and show you for standards 1 and 2. I went back, and we can look at this later on when we have more time. But this is the checklist that we talked about, and then I added what should and should not be included when we think of things like student-centered learning and rigor. And so, and then maybe later on I can come up with like more exemplars of what that could look like. So maybe that could be something we do like on-site training for PD and stuff like that, specifically for like AP teachers. Yeah. So I just wanted to show you that part.
I do like those.
So for the school improvement plan for priority 1, so like we talked about last week, I changed that to focus on how we can have the transition for new teachers coming in with coaching, observations, coaching, and mentoring. And so these are some of the artifacts that I included. So some of them are similar as far as the like using the data that we have for that module, where we went over the data, and then how can that drive instruction, and how can that help especially new teachers that are coming in, so that way they know where our students are at, and then how they can, you know, sort of improve those strategies, and especially like the vertical alignment, like, you know, focusing on the history and stuff like that. And then what do we do here? Oh yeah, so some of this was like focusing on the teacher retention, but I left it the same just because I think as far as like, you know, getting teachers, especially new teachers, into the school, getting them used to what our expectations are. And then, you know, so I have this as far as like what, you know, for each one as a best practice. So like leadership supports and positive working conditions. So part of that going into that mentoring. Yeah. And then again, I don't know if we have the ability to do something like a professional learning committee, but maybe we at some point can do that. I don't know, but I also know like part of our network meetings, we do have things like this as far as network wide.
I mean,
But-
we can definitely set up PLCs. The problem is we can't schedule time in that would officially count on teachers' hours.
Right. So that, yeah, so it'd have to be some, and I don't know if maybe it could, like, cause I remember like with the artifact that I showed you as far as like what Dan and I did, and that was specifically just because we were teaching the same grade A class. So that way it just kind of, it worked that way because students that were struggling in his class were similar to mine. So, so maybe we can just kind of like match teachers that way.
And now in the science department, they essentially do PLCs because they have weekly meetings
All right.
with their subject.
Okay.
So all the middle school physics teachers meet once a week.
Okay.
And Vic goes in there with them and leads a discussion to make sure there's alignment.
Okay.
And like all the biology teachers, he has those meetings every week. So we can schedule those in, and the science one seems to have helped. Like there's a lot more cohesion within those.
Okay.
But also in the sciences, they share classes. Like there's 3 teachers that teach physics 7.
Right. Okay.
So it's essential.
Yeah.
that they do
that. Yeah.
But that's why I said we can't put it in our official hour count.
Okay.
But all of our teachers are under hours, so
Yeah.
it's not like they're too overwhelmed in terms of what the standard is.
Yeah, so that, I mean, if we could, especially if it could be something where it's like just AP teachers and we get together and we're able to talk and collaborate and stuff like that, because we probably teach many
AP
of the same
teachers a
students.
lot.
Yeah,
We have like 10 AP teachers.
yeah,
It's hard to find a time when 10 teachers are available unless it's after work.
true.
But smaller ones, like 3 or 4, would be a more feasible, a more realistic goal.
Yeah,
Because the problem is because we have that Thursday collaboration time that's required,
yeah,
and we have whole school, divisional, department, network, that's 4 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
And so in a month, it's hard to find another week
Yeah. That's,
PLC's on.
yeah.
But that's why I say like smaller ones where you can ask people to meet during,
Yeah.
it's easier to find a period when
Yeah.
for maybe even
I
5
just think
people
like-
on a class.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe like a once a week or once a month breakfast kind of thing in the back there.
Just make sure no one has morning duties or first period classes.
Right.
The PE team meets first period every day.
Okay.
And then each week they have their official meeting.
Right.
But that's because we don't have any PE classes first period.
Mm.
So it's easier.
And then the last artifact was one of the modules where like we had to create like professional development for specifically how we use technology in the school. So one was focused on what do we got here? Using Teams more efficiently, even though I don't know, like seems like everybody kind of has a good handle on that. Just using Teams more or less.
This is one thing we're gonna do next year is we want more standardization of how information is put on Teams,
Right. Okay.
but we also want less use of Teams, especially in the middle school.
Okay.
Some teachers rely on Teams to give out like review packets, but that requires kids to get a device.
Yeah.
Once you give a kid a device,
Right. Sure.
all bets are off.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but that's a good one. We are going to be working on how are we going to use Teams.
Okay.
Because it is kind of sad. Someone like Vic, I don't know, you probably don't know this about Vic, but he puts every single assignment on Teams as an assignment.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
And even when the kids turn it in hand,
Yeah.
he scans it so that it goes in their Teams.
Right.
So they can see all their handed in work on Teams.
Okay.
It's a ton of work by him
Yeah.
because he's got to match up everything. But it creates a really easy to follow record for parents.
For sure. Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
There's no discussion.
So they always have real time
Yeah.
data on their.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
But then the problem is now you're saying, okay, but you need to get on Teams every day and to make sure you're not missing everything.
Right.
And that could be tough.
Well, that. Yeah. I've never used it for the assignments except for when we did like flip. But I still don't know how to do that where we can get the comments. Yeah.
Ruined Flipgrid.
But for that, it's in like especially when we've had parent meetings and like they've always asked like where do we get these resources? It's like your son or daughter has everything on Teams, and it's like I show them those folders and they're like, oh, okay, like.
And that's what we want to have so that every class has this is what the folders look like. Because the problem is now you go into yours and you go into Tim's, and you go into Brandon's.
Right, it's
you
all,
go into
all
Shankar.
different. Yeah.
Every teacher has their own filing system. And
Right.
It's quite
Okay.
a mess.
And then one was like, did I scroll through this one? No, Teams. One was like, so using map data. Oh, but also like how we can use GradeCam. And so I'd like, especially for social studies next year, I'd like to do a lot more of that. So that way, like, especially whether it's like quick vocabulary quizzes or unit quizzes and tests, like always have MCQs on GradeCam. Although Alex showed me that you can do that now on the AP Classroom as well. That it tracks the data, and then in fact you can differentiate on the classroom for students based on the percentages of their learning. So like if they've got like 50% or below, like you can target certain questions for that student, and then challenging questions for students that are getting higher. So it's like, yeah, so AP Classroom has gotten a little better that way. Yeah.
Either help Alex prep a PD on it, or you lead a.
Okay, I'll talk to him about that.
The one problem with AP Classroom is it's hard for our students. We have a lot of students who seem to be unable to access it outside of school.
Yeah.
And even on the lab computers, Gordon had that big problem.
But it's also a lot of them change. Well, like the other thing is like how they register, because like Susan was saying, like they have to use their passport name. and a lot of them use like their English name.
Oh, that was just
And-
Nelson.
Oh, okay.
That's-
Oh, it's just him. Okay.
And those things have to be fixed
Yeah.
for the test.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But also it's just like password. Like I remember like one day Steven, like he just like for like 10 minutes couldn't, and it's, you know,
Yeah.
they change their password and then they forget what it so how we can use technology for ELL. I still want to talk to Tammy. Today we have that like little tasting, the book club thing, but I still want to talk to her about how we can, and that goes into priority 2 next week. But how we can use it for ELL learners. And then basically just kind of like coaching conversations that we can have with certain teachers. And this was based on one of the Google forms that I made. But I just kept these names. So it's like, that's not the real person. So I just use that as an example. But basically just like what, no. So
I like this fake person you created.
no. So I know who you're thinking of, but that's not them. So, and I just used the information. So even though they're teaching that subject, it's so yeah. And it's just basically just kind of a way of how we can like kind of coach teachers, because the next one is also a new, well, it wasn't a new teacher, but a newer teacher. But it was just like, how can we use coaching methods to help teachers kind of adopt and utilize technology in the classroom, you know, hopefully for the benefit of the students and not, you know, getting them addicted to it, using it. So anyway, so the document that I created for the priority that I'm hoping we can break down and implement is basically just something like kind of what we were talking about last week about how I took away the idea of recruitment and retention, but retention can still be a theme of this, but is essentially, basically just like a check down list. And obviously the pre-onboarding, like HR does an amazing job with this anyway. So it's like a lot of that is just kind of already baked into the cake.
But they don't do a good job of this.
Right. So, and I've talked to Steven a couple times before. And then also last year was really great because, you know, Shankar, like we pretty much emailed maybe each other like 2 or 3 times a week for a couple months before he came here. And, you know, he had a lot of questions and it's a lot of great questions because, you know, even though he's taught in China before, it was just like, you know, new school, new policies. So trying to like kind of help him mentally prepare for that. I still remember the Saturday when we had our opening day ceremony. And I had just gotten here, and you know I hadn't had any.
Yeah, I met you at the door, right there.
Yeah. And so I remember telling you, having no idea about basis, and I said like, you know, please come into my classroom anytime and give me feedback. And you were just like, oh yeah, you're gonna get a lot of that. Like, I had no idea that it was gonna. So yeah, like just like little things, and one of the things that I wanted to include in this is having a time frame, because one of the things is that you know we get so busy as teachers and chairs and senior leadership that things can get away from us. So at least having sort of like a review or like a time frame of like, you know, okay, within the first 60 days, this is the kind of support I want to give this teacher, and this is how we're going to do it. And then also breaking down, so having a checklist of all those things, but also breaking down the TL strands. So that way, when I go into a classroom, it can be very purposeful. Like even though we can write about all 6 of those, at least I know, especially like the first couple of weeks, like heavy emphasis on TL1 getting into TL2. So at least that way that kind of drives those coaching conversations in the future of like, okay, so this is what I'm going to come into the classroom specifically looking for. And then this can then be part of that sort of after class coaching, and then things that we can kind of work on or not.
Did you make these yourselves, or are these from the TNL documents?
So these are from the documents itself, but then I also just wanted to like find specific things that could check off to look for.
I just want to check because this is one of Tanya's keywords.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. And then here's like, you know, part of the SMART goal that we create every year as well. So giving new teachers kind of a goal to work for that first year. And then again, a time frame as far as like, obviously this is kind of undersold because we're going to be in the classroom more than just one time for that month. But at least it kind of gives like a breakdown of like, this is where we can meet all of those goals. And then, so monthly targets, and then also, yeah. And then these are just some of the links that I found that kind of like support why this is a good initiative that we can have. And then one is, I know we have this built into the BG Cloud, but something that teachers can have open and then maybe keep a log on it themselves, just because it's like, you know, and then here's some guiding questions for like what the teacher can look for and ask as they're going through the class, you know, because one of the things is like, you know, like sometimes teachers just have a bad day, or sometimes teachers do a certain, they teach a certain class that as we come in as observers might not be something that it is we're looking for, but maybe they're coming off a unit test, or maybe they're, you know, they did an activity or something, and this is sort of like a post activity like review or something like that. You know, or they're introducing a unit, so that's why maybe it's a little lecture heavy, you know, for whatever reason. But I always think that when we go in observation is just a snapshot of whatever that class is that day, and doesn't reflect a teacher or a student or the students or the class. And so, but I think this is a good way of kind of keeping check of like painting that bigger picture once we get like, you know, 5 or however many observations that we would do, before we can kind of get an idea of like what's going on. So yeah, so this is for each TL strand. And then the other thing is that a coaching and reflection template.
Now, here, so you want to, is this meant to be a thing that you really use?
I'm hoping that we could use it.
Show it to me. So here, one, you have TL5 and 6 on there.
Yeah.
So those probably wouldn't be in your observation.
True. Okay.
And then the other is, if you're going in with a packet, it's a little thick.
I'm thinking this is something that we would have on our laptops. So because you know, every teacher is, or every person that comes in to do an observation might, you know, I've seen people do it like,
especially because you mentioned that this would be used at the beginning.
Yeah.
I really don't like laptops and beginning observations.
Okay.
I think it creates a barrier between you and the teacher, especially with our like low tech approach we're trying next year. So like as the year goes on, laptops become a necessity because we need to be efficient. But what I would say is think about, especially if it's aimed at the beginning.
So then maybe we could make this into like a like a chair senior leadership like observation notebook.
Yeah.
Instead of just a regular notepad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And like you could have these as that, but like change. You know, you can make that shorter. You can squeeze that in. You
right.
probably get 2 TLs next to each other. We could probably get this into a front back.
Okay.
Which, even the front back, a little like then you'd be flipping it over.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just thinking of things that can disrupt or distract from the classroom.
Right.
But at the beginning, yeah, laptops. At the start, I just feel like when someone's at the back with a laptop in front of them.
Yeah.
Typing versus when someone's in the back with a notepad. Like the notepad, if anything, it feels a little more intimidating, but it's also more personal.
Sure.
It's like we're there with them. So I'd like to see that, again, not the whole time, but especially at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
There was a way to make this into something we have.
Okay. Sure.
Just something to think about.
Absolutely.
And when you're condensing that, TL5 and 6 could be ones that were left off the physical one.
Okay. All right. So, yeah.
And the other beauty now is if we're taking all of these, it's not creating double the work that it used to, because AI is so good at OCR. we can just take pictures of it and say, summarize this for me. Or not summarize, copy this word for word for me.
Right.
And give me a digital copy. And then it will give us everything we wrote down.
Okay.
Like the digital form, you could have that because you may have something in like TL5 that they've been working on. You see evidence of it in there.
Oh, okay.
Probably they're gonna be lower priority.
Okay. And then the last thing is so just basically like a form that we could, obviously we have that on the cloud as well, but just you know, sometimes when we have those conversations, again, whether or not we have like a notepad or we have a tablet open, when we have those coaching conversations, to take notes. Sometimes when we do those sort of like post comments and reflection, so I was thinking about having some sort of template that could, you know, kind of like have questions that drive the conversation, and then and kind of like lead the teacher into thinking about their class and thinking about that reflection. And then the other thing, and I posted it, this would be for standards 3 and 4, but one of the things that kind of bothered me a little bit with some of the coaching conversations that I had with colleagues this year was not the coaching conversations themselves, or the observations, but it was when I asked them to do a reflection, and the reflection was just basically like one sentence that didn't really have anything meaningful or purposeful to what we spoke about. Now, obviously, it's like I don't want to like tell teachers that they have to do that, but I think maybe it's something where it's like, if we have these conversations and we have those kinds of questions, that maybe that gives them a little bit more time to kind of like write down and reflect. And I think, and it's not that it like I hope it's not an ego thing, but like one of the things is that it's just like, not that they have to take it so serious, but it's like, you know, just take some time to think about the fact that it's, you know, it's meant to help you, and that it's that reflection shows that like you've given that conversation some thought, and so that was just kind of one of the things that I didn't really like that much. It was that you know, we put a lot of effort into those conversations, and that like when you see those reflections that are just kind of like just to get it over with, it's kind of like, okay, so yeah.
I think we're about to get kicked out of here.
But yeah, and so then here I have a summary and a reflection of these things, and so so I'll post the video after this, and then you have it open on the portal. So sorry, trying to think of the word, but
All right.
okay.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you.